8 in March 1973, age 26. I was born in 1946 in Camden, New Jersey, down the street from Walt Whitman's house, Mickle Street. But my true point of origin, where I came into existence as a sentient being, is Birkenau, sometimes called Auschwitz II, or the women's camp where we died, my family and I don't know what year. I have a sense memory of the place. I've always had it, although of course when I was young, I didn't know what it was, where it was, why it was in my mind, the place, the geography, the real place, the way it was. It's partial in my mind, but solid. The things I see in my mind were there. They're pushed back in my mind, hard to get at, behind a wall, time and death. Everything that matters about me begins there. I remember it, not like a dream. And it's not something I made up out of books. When I looked at the books, I saw what I already had seen in my mind. I saw what I already knew was there. It's the old neighborhood. Familiar, far back memory. Back before speech or rationality or self-justification. It's way back in my mind, but it's whole. It's deep down where no one can touch it or change it. It can't be altered by information or events or by wishful thinking on my part. It's my hidden heart that keeps beating, my real heart, the invisible one that no physician can find. And death can't either. Not everyone was burned. At first, they didn't have crematoria. They pushed all the bodies into huge mass graves and put earth on top of them, but the bodies exploded from the gases that come when bodies decompose. The earth actually heaved and pulled apart. It swelled and rose up and burst open, and the soil turned red. I read that in a book, and I knew right away that it was true. I recognized it as if I had seen it. I thought, yes, that seems more familiar to me than the crematoria. It was as if my soul had stayed above and watched, and I saw the earth buckle, and the red come up through the soil. I always knew what Birkenau was like from the parts of it I have in my mind. I knew it was gray and isolated, and I knew there were low gray huts, and I knew the ground was gray and flat, and it was winter. And I knew there were pine trees and birch trees. I see them in the distance, upright, indifferent. A monstrous provocation, God's beauty. He spits in your face. And there were huge piles of things, so big you thought they were hills of earth, but they were shoes. You can see from currently published photos that they were shoes. The piles were higher than the buildings. And there was a huge high arch I had never liked seeing pictures of the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, because it always made me feel sad and scared. Because at Birkenau there was a high arch that looked like a sculpture against the desolate sky. You think in your mind the yellow star is one thing. You can make it decorous and ornamental. You give it aesthetic balance and refinement, a fineness, a delicacy. Maybe in your mind you model it on silver stars of David you've seen. But it was really a big, ugly thing, and you couldn't make it look nice. I think it was only waist high. You don't know much if you're a kid. I remember the women around me, masses of women. I held someone's hand, but I don't think it was someone I even knew. I can't see any faces really because they were all taller, and they were covered. Heavy coats, kerchiefs on their heads, layers of clothes fouled by dirt. But if you're a child, you're like a little cub, a puppy, and you think you're safe if you're huddled with women. They're warm. They keep you warm. You want to be near them. And you believe in them without thinking. I wasn't there too long. We walked somewhere. We waited, we walked, it was over. I've seen birch trees here in the United States in the mountains, but I've always transposed them in my mind to a different landscape, that low, flat, swampy ground past the huts. Birch trees make me feel sad and lonely and afraid. There's astrologers who say that if you were born when Pluto and Saturn were traveling together in Leo from 1946 to about the middle of 1949, you died in one of the concentration camps and you came right back. Because you had to. You had an urgency stronger than death could ever be. You had to come back and set it right. Justice pushed you into a new womb, an outrage, a blind fury, pushed you out of it onto this earth, this place, this zoo of sickness and sawdust. You are an avenging angel. You have a debt to settle. You have a head start on suffering. I consider Birkenau my birthplace. I consider that I am a living remnant. I consider that in 1946, I emerged. I burst out. I was looking for trouble and ready for pain. I wanted to kill Nazis. I was born to kill Nazis. I wasn't some innocent born to play true love and real romance, the parlor games that pass for life. I got these fucked up compassionate parents who believed in law and kindness and blah blah. I got these fucked up peaceful Jews. I got these fucked up civilized parents. I was born a girl. Even my mother knew it was wrong. She named me Andrea for manhood or courage. It's a boy's name. The root andros, meaning man in Greek. It's man in the universal sense too, man. She and God joined hands to tease me almost to death. He put brains, great hearts, great spirits into women's bodies to fuck us up. It's some kind of sick joke. Let's see them aspire in vain. Let's see them fucked into triviality and insignificance. Let's see them try to lose at checkers and tic-tac-toe to boys year in, year out, to boys so stupid he barely remembered to give them an IQ at all. He forgot their hearts, he forgot their souls. They have no warrior spirit, no sense of honor. They are bullies and fools. Let's make each one of the boys imperial louts. Let's see these girls banged and bruised and bullied. Let's see them forced to act so stupid they long and so much. To act stupid so long and so much that they learn to be stupid even when they sleep and dream. And Mother Handmaiden to the Lord says, wear this, do that, don't say that, sick, close your legs, wear white gloves, and don't get them dirty. Girls don't climb trees, girls don't run, girls don't, because the girls don't. Was there nothing girls actually did do of any interest whatsoever? And when they got you a doll that pees, it's when they get you a doll that pees that you recognize the dimensions of the conspiracy. Its institutional reach, its metaphysical ambition. Then God caps it all off with Leviticus. I have to say, I was not amused. But the meanest was my dad. Be kind, be smart, read, think, care, be excellent, be serious. Be committed. Be honest. Be someone. Be. It was the cruelest joker alive. There'd be Meet the Press on television every Sunday, and they'd interview the Secretary of State or Defense or Labor Leader or some foreign head of state, and we'd discuss the topic. My dad and me. Labor, Suez, integration, law, literacy, racism, poverty, and I'd try to solve them. We would discuss what the president should do, and what I would do if I were Secretary of State. He would listen to me at 8, 10, 12, attentively, with respect. The cruelty of the man knew no bounds. You have a right to hate liberals. They make promises they cannot keep. They make you believe certain things are possible, dignity in the world and freedom, but especially equality. They make equality seem as if it's real. It's a great sorrow to grow up. The world ain't liberal. I always wanted excellence. I wanted to attain it. I didn't start out with apologies. I thought, I am. I wanted to mix with the world, hands-on, me in it. I'd have courage. I wasn't born nice necessarily, but nurtured triumphed over nature. And I wanted to be the good citizen who could go from my father's living room out into the world. I got all fucked up with this peace stuff. How you can make it better, anything better if you care, if you try. I didn't want to kill Nazis or anyone. In this sense, I knew right from wrong. It was an immutable sense of right and wrong, that killing killed the one thing, killing killed the one doing the killing, and that killing killed something precious and good at the center of life itself. I knew it was wrong to take an individual life, mine, and turn it into a weapon of destruction. I knew I could. And I said, no, I won't. I could have. I was born with the capacity to kill, but my father changed my heart. I said, it's Nazism you have to kill, not Nazis. People die pretty easy, but cruelty doesn't. So you gotta find a way to go up against the big thing, the menace. You have to stop it from being necessary. You have to change the world so no one needs it. You have to start with the love you have to give, the love that comes from your own heart. And you can't accept the terror of the body, the restrictions or inhibitions or totalitarian limits set by authoritarian types or institutions. There's nothing that can't be loved. There's nothing that has to be mean. You take the body, the divine body, that their hate disfigures and destroys, and you let it triumph over murder and rage and hate through physical love. And it is the purest democracy. There is no exclusion to it. Anything, everything is or can be communion. I, thou, anything, everything. Can be transformed, transcended, opened up, turned from opaque to translucent. Everything's luminous, lambent, poignant, sweet, filled with nuance and grace, poetically ecstatic. I thought I had the power and the passion and the will to transform anything, me, now, with the simple openness of my own heart, the heart pretty free of fear and without prejudice against life, a heart loving life. I didn't have a fascist heart or a bourgeois heart. I just had this heart that wanted freedom. I wanted to love. I wanted to love. I never grasped the passive part where if you were a girl, you were supposed to be loved. He picks you, you say, wait, hope, pray, don't perspirate, pluck your eyebrows, and be good at meaning you fucking sit still. And the boy comes along and says, give me that one, and you respond to being picked with desire. Sort of like an apple leaping from the tree into the basket. I was me, however. Not her, whomever, some fragile, impotent, mentally absent person perpetually on hold. Then the boy presses the button and suddenly the line is alive, and then you get to say, yes, and thank you. In Birkenau, it didn't matter what was in your gorgeous heart, did it? But I didn't learn. Did I? I wanted to love past couples and individuals and the phony baloney of neurotic affairs. I didn't want small personalities doing fetishized carnal acts. I thought adultery was the stupidest thing alive. John Updike made me want to puke. I didn't think adultery could survive one day of real freedom. I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was moronic. I wanted a grand sensuality that encompassed everyone, didn't leave anyone out. I wanted it dense and real and full-blooded and part of the fabric of everyday life, every single ordinary day, all the time. I wanted it in all things, great and small. I wanted the world to tremble with sexual feeling, all stirred up, on the edge of a thrill, riding a tremor. I wanted a tender embrace to dissolve alienation and end war. I wanted the world's colors to deepen and shine and shimmer and leap out. I didn't want limits or boundaries, not on me, not on anyone else either. I didn't want life flat and dull, a line drawn done by some sophomore student at the art league. I thought we'd fuck power to death because sexual passion was the enemy of power. And I thought that every fuck was an act of passion and compassion, beauty and faith, empathy, and an impersonal ecstasy. And the cruel ones, the mean ones, were throwbacks. The old order, intransient and refusing to die, but still, the fuck, any fuck, brought someone closer to freedom and power closer to dying. And yes, the edge is harrowing. And poverty is not kind. And power ain't moved around so easy. Especially not by some adolescent girl in heat. And I fell very low over time. Very low. But I had a devotion to freedom. And I loved life. I wasn't brought low in the inner sanctum of my belief until after being married, when I was destroyed. I remembered Birkenau. I wish I could find my way back to the line. You wait, you walk, you wait, you walk some more, it's over. I know that's ignorant. I am ignorant. I wanted peace, and I had love in my heart, and being hurt didn't mean anything, except I wasn't dead yet. Still alive. Still having to live today, and right now. Being hurt didn't change anything. You can't let fear enter in. According to the way I saw life, I incarnated peace. Maybe not so some understand it, but in my heart, there was peace. And I never thought any kind of making love was war. Make love, not war. And when it was war on me, I didn't see it as such, per se. War was Vietnam. I never thought peace was bland, or I should be insipid or just wait. Peace has its own drive, and its own sense of time. You need a backbone, and it wants to win. Not have the last word, but to be the last word. It's fierce pieces, not coy, not pure, not simpering or whimpering, and maybe it's not always nice, either. And I was a real peace girl, who got a lot of it wrong, maybe, because staying alive was hard, and I did some bad things, and it made me hard, and I got tough, and tired, so tired, and nasty sometimes, mean, unworthy. Why'd Gandhi put those young girls in his bed and make them sleep there so he could prove he wouldn't touch them and he could resist? I never got nasty like that, where I used somebody else up to brag I was someone good. There's no purity on this earth from ego or greed, and I never set out to be a saint. I like everything being all mixed up in me. I don't have quarrels with life like that. I accept we're tangled. In my heart, I was peace. Once I saw a cartoon in the New Yorker, maybe I was 18. It showed a bunch of people carrying picket signs that said peace. And it showed one buxom woman carrying a sign that said peace, like Piece. Oh dang, it got dark. I hated that. I hated it. But you either had to be cowed, give in to the pig shit behind the cartoon, or you had to disavow it. Disown the dumb shit behind it. I disowned it all. I disowned it. Without exception. I kept none of it. I pushed it off me. I purged my world of it. I disavowed anyone who tried to put it on me. There couldn't be this garbage between me and life, like some huge smelly dump you had to trudge through or crawl through to slide up against someone who was also real. And by the time you got to them, you smelled like the garbage. I said no. I said I will not. I said it is not on me. I said I may be poor, but I am not afraid. I said I want. I said I am not afraid to pay. I said I will not shield myself. I said I will not pretend to live life. I will live it. I said I will not apologize and I will not lie. I said if I die, I die. I was never afraid to die. I got tough in some ways, but I stayed soft inside the core of my belief where there is a tenderness for others. Sometimes. I kept a caring eye. Kept a caring heart. Over the injury, I still believed there was love. Not the love of two, but the love of many. I still believed in us. All of us. Us. If we could get free from rules and obedience and being robots. I liked doing sabotage. I'm not saying I had a pretty heart. I wasn't a nice girl, and I'm not claiming it. I had some ruthlessness. I wasn't easy to kill. I could keep going. I wanted to live. I'm just saying I cared. Why didn't I kill him? Why didn't I? I'm the most ardent pacifist the world ever saw. And fuck meant all kinds of making love. It was a new world. It was fucking if you got inside of each other. So near, you couldn't be pulled apart. It was a joy and a risk and fun and orgasm, not faking it. I never have. I didn't have to do it to put what where. It was all kinds of wet and all kinds of urgent and all kinds of here and now. With him or her, it was tangled up with someone. Raw. It wasn't this one genital act. In, out, that someone could package and sell or that there was an etiquette for. It wasn't some imitation of something you saw somewhere in porn or your favorite movie star saying how he did it. It was something vast, filled with risk and feeling. Personal love ain't the only feeling. There's feelings of adventure and newness and excitement and goddamn pure happiness. There's need and sorrow and loneliness and certain kinds of grief that turns easy into touching someone, wild, agitated, everywhere. There's just liking whoever it is and wanting to pull them down right on you, and they make you giddy. Their mere existence tickles you to death. You giggle and cheer them on, and you touch them, and their sensation, just that. No morality, no higher good, no justification, just how it feels. There's uncharted waters. You've been acting out a script, and there's no way past the present. You're right there, in the middle of your own real life, riding a wave a mile high with speed and grace, and then you are pulled under to the bottom of the world. The whole world's alive. Everything moves and wants and loves. The whole world's alive with promise, with possibility. And I wanted to live. I said yes. I want to live. There's not something new about wanting love, in spite of known terror, or feeling love and having it push, carry you out past safety into hell. There's nothing new about wanting to love a multitude. I was born on Mickle Street in Camden in 1946, down the street from Walt Whitman's house. I grew up an orphan, sheltered by the passion of his great heart. He wanted everyone. He wanted them to touch. He was forced by his time and place into metaphor. He put it in poems, this physicalized love that was universal. He named the kinds and categories he wanted, men and women. He said they were worthy, all without exception. He said he wanted to be on them and in them, and he wanted them in him. He said it was love. He said, I am. He said, I am. And then he enumerated the ones he wanted. He made I am synonymous with you are. We are. Leaves of grass is his list of lovers, us, the people, all of us. He used grandiose language, but it was also common, vulgar. He says, I am you, and you, and you. You exist. I touch you. I know you. I see you. I recognize you. I want you. I love you. I am. In the Civil War, he was devoted to wounded soldiers. He faced the maiming and the mutilation, and he loved those boys. Many a soldier's loving arms about this neck have crossed and rested. Many a soldier's kiss dwells on these bearded lips. It was before surgeons washed their hands, before Lister and legs were sawed off, sutures were moistened with saliva. Gangrene was commonplace. He visited the wounded soldiers day in and day out. He didn't eroticize suffering. No. It was the communion of being near, of touching, of a tender intimacy inside a veil of tears. He saw them suffer, and he saw them die, and he wrote, come, sweet death, be persuaded, oh, beautiful death and mercy, come quickly. I got to say, I don't think a 3-minute fuck was his meaning. I don't. It's an oceanic feeling inside you, and you push it outward. Once you start loving humanity, there's no reason to make distinctions of beauty or kind. There's something basic in everyone that asks love. forgiveness, an honorable tenderness, a manly tenderness, Strong, he was generous. Call him a slut. If a war happens, it marks you for life. It's your war. Waltz was the Civil War, North against South, feuding brothers. Terrible slaughter. No one remembers how bloody and murderous it was. Mine was Vietnam. I didn't love the soldiers, but I loved the boys who didn't go. My dad's war was World War II. Everyone had their own piece of that war. There's Iwo Jima, Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima, Vichy, and the French resistance, Sodus, Soldier Boys, SS in Europe. My dad was in the army. My dad was being sent to the Pacific when Truman dropped the bomb. The bomb. He says it saved his life. Hiroshima and Nagasaki saved his life. I never saw him wish anyone harm, except maybe Storm Thurmond, Jesse Helms, and Bull Connor. But he thought it was okay. Hell, necessary for all those Japanese to die so he could live. He thought it was worth it, even if it was just a chance he would die. I felt otherwise. He had an unreasonable anger against me. I would have died, he said. I would have died. He was peace-loving. But nothing could shake his faith that Hiroshima was right. Not the mass death, not the radiation, not the pollution, not the suffering later, not the people burned, their skin burned right off them, not the children then or later. The mushroom cloud didn't make him afraid. To him, it always meant he wasn't dead. I was ashamed of him for not caring, or for caring so much about himself. But I found what I thought was common ground. I said, it was proved Truman didn't have to do it. In other words, I could think it was wrong to drop the bomb and still love my father, but he thought I had insufficient respect. And he had good intuition, because I couldn't see why his life was worth more than all those millions. I couldn't reconcile it, how this very patient, very kind, quite meek guy could think he was more important than all the people. It wasn't that he thought the bomb would stop the Jews from being massacred in Europe. It wasn't that he, from New Jersey, it was that he, from New Jersey, would live. He didn't understand that I was born in the shadow of the crime, a shadow that covered the whole earth every day from then on. We just were born into knowing we'd be totally erased someday, inevitably. My dad used to be beat up by other boys at school when he was growing up. He was a bookworm, a Jew, and the other boys beat the shit out of him. He didn't want to fight. He got called a sissy and a kike, a faggot, sheeny, all the names. They beat the shit out of him. And yes, one did become the chief of police in the American way. And then, somehow, an adult man, he knows he's worth all the Japanese who died. And I wondered how he learned it. Because I have never learned anything like it yet. He was humble and patient, and I learned a kind of personal pacifism from him. He went into the army. He was a soldier, but all his life he hated fighting and conflict, and he would not fight with arms or support any violence in word or deed. He tried persuasion and listening, and he avoided conflict even if it made him look weak, and he was very gentle even with fools. And I learned from him that you were supposed to take it as a person and not give back what you got, and give back something kinder, better, subtler, more elevated, something deeper and kinder and more human. So when he didn't mind the bomb, when he liked it because it saved his life, I was dumb with surprise and a kind of fascinated revulsion. Was it just wanting to stay alive at any cost, or was it something inside that said, me, I am? It got sort of big and said, me. I got angry. Because as a parent personality, a humble, patient person, tender and sensitive, it went, me, I am. And it said that whatever stood between him and existence had to be annihilated. I would have died. I might have died. As a child, I was horrified, but later I tried to understand why I didn't have it. I was blank there. It was as if the tape was erased or something. It was just missing. If someone stood between me and existence, how come I didn't think I mattered more? Why didn't I kill them? I never would put me above someone else. I never did. I never thought that because they were doing something to annihilate me, I could annihilate them. I figured I would just be wounded or killed or whatever. Because life and death were random events. Like I tried to tell my father, maybe he would have lived. When someone pushes you down, he pushes himself between you and existence. You do die, or you will die, or you can die. It's the luck of the draw, really, not unlike maybe you'll get killed, or maybe you won't in war. Except you don't get to be proud of it if you don't die. I never thought anyone should be killed just because he endangered my existence, or corrupted it altogether, or just because I was left a shallow haunting of my own life. I mean, really killed. I never thought anyone should really die just because one day he was actually going to kill me. Fucking render me dead. Inevitably, absolutely, no doubt. I didn't think any one of them should really die. It was outside what I could think of. Is there anything in me, any I am, anything that says, I will stop you? Or anything that says, I'm too valuable, and this bad thing you are doing to me will cost you too much? Or anything that says, you cannot destroy me. Cannot. Me. If someone tortures you, and you will die from it eventually, someday, for sure, one way or another, and you can't make the day come soon enough because the suffering is immense, then maybe he should die. Because he pushes himself between you and existence. Maybe you should kill him to push him out of the way. Do you think Truman would have bought it? My dad wouldn't have either. At best, he'd say, why did this tragic thing happen to you? It would never be possible to pin down which tragic thing he meant, and he'd be bitter and mad. Not at the bad one, but at me. I'd be the bad one for him. At worst, I'd be plain filth in his eyes. I don't know why. I can't think all the Japanese should die so I can stay alive, or why I can't think some man should die. I'll never be a Christian, that's for sure. I can't stand thinking Christ died for me. It makes me sick. I got some idea of how much it hurt. I can't stand the thought. I am. So what? I've actually been willing to die, so none of them would get hurt, even if they're inside me against what I want. Now I started thinking the Nazis, the real Nazis of our time and place, the brown shirts. They didn't put you on a train, they come to where you are. They get you one by one, but they do get you, most of you, nearly all. And they destroy your heart and the sovereignty of your body, and they kill your freedom, and they make you ashen and humiliate you and tear you apart, and it ain't metaphor. And they injure you beyond repair or redemption. They injure your body past any known suffering, and you die. Not them. You. They kill you, sometimes slow or fast, with mutilation or not. And you are more likely to murder yourself than them. And that's wrong. Child of God. That's wrong. I can never think someone should die instead of me. But they should. If they came to do harm in the first place, objectively speaking. They should. I think perhaps they should. My reason says so, but I can't face it. Run instead, run or give in, run or open my legs, run or get hit, run, hide, do it for them, do whatever they want, do it before they can hurt me more, anticipate what they want, do it. Keep them cooled out, keep them okay, keep them quiet, or more quiet than they would be if I made them mad, gave in or run, capitulate or run, hide, run, escape, do what they say. I used to say I wanted to do it, what they wanted, whatever it was. I used to say it was me, I was deciding. I was ready. It was my idea. I did the talking. I decided. I initiated. Hey, I was as tough as them. But it was fuck before they get mad. It was lower the risk of making them mad. Use your will to make less pain for yourself, you say. I am. As if there is an I. And then you do what pleases them, girl. What they like. What you already learned they like. There's no I. Because if there was, it wouldn't have accepted the destruction or the annihilation. It wouldn't have accepted all little Hitler fiends, all little Goring fiends, all little Himmler fiends being right on you and turning you inside out and leaving injury on you and liking it. They liked seeing you hurt. And then you say, it's me. I chose it. I want it. It's fine. You say it for pride so you can stay alive through the hours after. And so it won't hit you in the face that you're just some piece of trash who ain't worth nothing on this earth. No one can kill someone. How'd I become no one? And why is he someone? And how come there's no I inside me? How come I can't think he should die? If that's what it takes to blow him loose. I'm a pilgrim, searching for understanding, because there's nothing left. I'm empty, and there's nothing. And it takes a lot of pride to lie. I wanted. What did I want? I wanted freedom. So they're ripping me apart, and I smile. I say I have freedom. Freedom is a lot of men. And the certainty of more. There's always more. Freedom in abundance. My cup ran over. There's a special freedom for girls. It doesn't get written down in constitutions. There's this freedom where they use you how they want. And you say, I am, I choose, I decide, I want. After or before, when you're young or when you're 100, it's the liturgy of the free woman. I choose, I decide, I want, I am. And you have to be a devout follower of the faith, a fanatic of freedom. You have to be able to say the words and remember the acts at the same time. Devout. You really have to love freedom, darling. Be a little Buddha girl. No I. Free from the chain of being, because you are empty inside. No ego. Freud couldn't even find you under a microscope. It's a cold night. One of them unusual ones in New York under zero with a piercing wind about 15 miles an hour. There's no coat warm enough. I lived in someone's room, slept on the floor. It was Christmas and she said to meet her at Macy's. I followed the directions she gave me and went right to the floor. I never saw anything so big or so much. There's 100 kinds of sausages all wrapped up in millions of different boxes of cookies all wrapped up in bottles of vinegar, all kinds of oil and millions of things. I couldn't get used to it and I got dizzy and upset and I ran out. I lived with a woman who helped me when I was just a kid out of jail. She still had the same apartment. She fed me, but I couldn't sleep in my old room. Her husband slept in it now, a new husband, so I slept on a sofa in the room right outside the kitchen, and there were no doors. There was the old sofa, foam rubber, covered with plaid cloth and books, and the door to the apartment was a few feet away. When you came in, you could turn right or left. If you turned left, you went into the bathroom or the living room. The living room had a big double bed in it where she slept, my friend. If you turned right, you came to the small room that was the husband's, and past that you came to the open space where I slept, and you came into the kitchen. The husband didn't like me being there, but he didn't come home often enough for it to matter. He was hard and nasty and arrogant, but politically, he was a pacifist. He looked like a bum, but he was rich. He ordered everyone around and wrote poems. He was an anarchist. My old room had to stay empty for him, even though he had his own apartment, or studio as he called it. And he never told her when he was showing up. A friend of hers gave me a room for a few months in a brownstone on West 14th Street. Pretty place, civilized Italian neighborhood, old with Greenwich Village charm. The room belonged to some man in a mental institution in Massachusetts. It was a nutty room, all right. 2 rooms, really. The first wasn't wider than both your arms outstretched. There was a cot, a hot plate, a tiny toilet, a teeny tiny table that tipped over if you put too much on it. The second was bigger and had windows, but he filled it up so there wasn't any room left at all. A baby grand piano and humongous plants taller than me, as tall as some trees with great wide, thick leaves stretched out in the air. It was pure menace, especially how the plants seemed to stretch out over everything at night. They got bigger and they seemed to move. You could believe they were coming toward you, and sometimes you had to check. The difference between people who have something and me is how long the night is. I have listened to every beat of my heart, waiting for the night to end. I have heard every second tick on by. I've heard long pauses between the seconds, enough time to die in, and I've waited, barely able to breathe for them to end. Daylight's safer. The big brown bugs disappear. They only come out at night. And at night you're always afraid they'll be there, so you can't help but see them. So you don't really always know whether they're real or not. You see them in your mind or out of the corner of your eye. They're always afraid they'll be there. So if you see one slip past the corner of your eye in the dark, you will start waiting in fear for morning, for the light, because it chases them away and you can't. Nothing you can do well. Same for the burglars. Same for the ones who come in to get you. Daylight. You wait for daylight. You sit in the night. You light up the room with some phony light. It's fake and dim, and there's never enough glare. Only underlies the menace. You can see that you're besieged. There's not enough light to vaporize the danger, to make it dissolve the way sunlight does when it finally comes. You can sleep for a minute or 2, or maybe 20. You don't want to be out any longer than that. You don't get undressed. You stay dressed. Always. All the time. Your boots on and a knife right near you or in your hand. You get boots with metal reinforced tips no matter what. You don't get under the covers. You don't do all those silly things, milk and cookies, Johnny Carson, now I lay me down to sleep. You sit absolutely still or lie down rigid and ready for attack, and you listen to the night moving over the earth, and you understand that you were buried alive in it, and by the grace of random luck you will be alive in the morning. Or you won't be. You will die, or you won't, and you wait to find out. You wait for the light, and when it comes, you know you made it.